Hi guys, Thomas here from FastTrackFBA, and today I am super excited. I am joined by the one and only Kev Blackburn from Life Success Engineer. Now, I've been following Kev's journey for a long time, and I'm really impressed and amazed by what he has achieved. I'm really happy to be able to have him on my YouTube channel today to interview him, ask him about his Amazon journey, and also share that experience, share that wealth of knowledge with you all today. So Kev, can I just say, first things first, thank you very much for joining me today. And can you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Absolutely. First of all, it's an absolute pleasure to be on your YouTube channel. It really is. I absolutely love being able to be involved in such an amazing community like this one, where we get to meet some incredible people, learn some amazing stories. And just before we started recording here, you just mentioned that is the furthest private label product all the way to Vietnam, which is amazing. So
you want to know this is Kev's private label product, and I brought it to Vietnam.
That's amazing. Absolutely awesome. So for those that don't know me, my name is Kev from Life Success Engineer. So I started my Amazon business back in 2015. I learned about Amazon in the May of 2015, and I actually got my first sale in the June of 2015. So I realized straight away it was an amazing opportunity because, one, for my own personal reasons, being an electrical engineer prior to working for myself, the company that I worked for, British Steel, that it's called now, was going through lots of difficulty. It was going through redundancies, liquidation, and they were shutting down pieces of different parts of the plant. And you know, that just did not sit right with me at all. Like, it was very, very concerning, just like the world that we live in now with the coronavirus and people losing their jobs and fearful of what's going on with companies and businesses struggling. And for me, it was like, I just couldn't live like that. And the nail in the coffin really for me was we got summoned to a conference room where we was on a video call like this. And the CEO of the company was going to announce which plant was going to be shut down. And it was like, to me, I was sat there, and I had friends that I've gone through my apprenticeship with, I've gone through a university with, and we've got mortgages, we've got families, and I was looking around at everybody, and everybody's like fearful, fearful of what they're about to experience. And that was the moment for me where I was like, there's got to be another way. You've got to be in control of your own life. And that's when I started looking at online business. I ended up participating in a family apprentice challenge. So do you know The Apprentice with Lord Alan Sugar? Yeah. So on one of the episodes, they were doing a challenge where the two teams, they had £500 each. And what they would have to do is who can make that and turn that into the most money. And I thought to myself, that's cool. Like, that is practical. That is something that you can get your hands on, and you're just like trying to buy products and sell products or make something. Anyway, so we did this a family apprentice challenge. We started, everybody was not £500, it was actually £10 because we weren't going to put £500 into it. And I ended up going to Sue Ryder, a second-hand store here in the UK, and I found these little porcelain birds. They were really shiny, they had a date on it, they had a signature on it, and I thought to myself, they have to be worth more than the 75 pence that's in front of me right now. They just have to be. There's going to be somewhere in the world that like they collect these porcelain birds. Anyway, so I sold them on eBay. Right, so maybe people don't know that I actually originally started on eBay. So I got my first sale on eBay in like late May time, and it was amazing being at the steelworks. I got the notification on my phone. I was like, oh my God, I've just made some money. This is amazing. But what's the biggest problem with that? I had to then go home, go to the post office. I had to wrap everything up. I had to, and I was like, this ain't scalable. This is not a way to scale to the point where I wanted to quit my job. So that's when an amazing moment happened where it was like, oh my God, Amazon FBA, what is this? What, I can send products to Amazon FBA and now not just selling like 5 birds. If I could find like 1,000 birds, now I can sell them all. And then if I can not just find birds, what if I find other products that are on offer, on discounts, and if I can make that more money, and then I can scale it. And anyway, so we got started in the June, stumbled our way through. How do we label products? How do we create a shipment? I've still got the first photo of a shipment. And 5 years later, we've been able to quit our jobs. We've been able to move out into a warehouse, just moving to a second warehouse. Recently, earlier in the year, we started our private label journey, which I've got a couple of products right up there. The local newspaper, so I have this on my wall now. The local newspaper came and visited us and did an article in the newspaper, which was really cool. So we both quit our jobs and now sold over 3 million on Amazon. And it's just been a whirlwind journey. And throughout this, it's just been great to meet other people and support other people too.
My God, wow. I don't even know where to start. Let's just put it that way. That is number one, it's 5 years, but can I just come back? Can I just come back to there are going to be people, when you're in that British Steel, wasn't it? British
Steelworks, yeah.
Steelworks, sorry. And you're an electrical engineer, is that right?
That's right, yeah. I was trained as an electrical engineer.
And hey, I studied electronic engineering, so I understand. Don't get me wrong. You could leave British Steel and you could go get another job. You're in demand. Engineers are always in demand. There are going to be people out there who are, probably now. I think we're probably going to come up to another recession who could be going through the same thing. My question for you is why didn't you go get another job? Why did you think about, hey, actually, people can go to Amazon, but it's risky. My God, yes, £10, but now it's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Why not go get another job? Why do Amazon? What was that tick in your mind saying, no, I'm going to do this?
It's a brilliant question. And I actually think that anybody doing any career, any business needs to answer this question first, is ultimately, how do you want to live your life? And you asked you mentioned the question there, that your electrical engineers are in demand. And I actually really, really enjoyed electrical engineering. I really enjoyed it. I loved the people. I loved the work. I absolutely loved my job. I wouldn't have gone to university and studied for 8 years if I didn't enjoy it. But to answer your question, it's how do you want to live your life? And electrical engineering, as brilliant as I enjoyed it, it was you can't do the work from like at home. You've got to be there at the plant. You've got responsibility. I was 26 years old, a young family. I had my first when I was 19 years old. So that was Theo. And that's why I wanted to become successful. In my eyes, it was like become a professional in electrical engineering. And then I had Harper when I was 25. So she was born in 2015. And that's when I thought, well, actually, the journey that I had with Theo, I never got to see him. I never got to go to his plays. I never got to do anything because I was always at work. And I thought, that's why I've got to go to an online business, because an online business, and you're a true testament of this, you're in Vietnam, you're in another side of the world, and we've got an internet connection. So I knew if I could get access to an online business, I could be anywhere. And that's ultimately where the long-term goal is, to control your own time and have that ability to have that freedom.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's easy to go jump into another job. I'm not saying it's easy, it's hard. It's always hard decisions, but it's got to be, what do you really want? And it's really nice to hear that. And hey, I hear it with so many people about, why do they do this? Why do they take the risk of running a business? Because it is risky. How many businesses fail, but they do it for their family. And that is really, that's something really important, but it's got to be your why. I really understand that. That's why. So obviously you've done 5 years now, newspaper, 3 million. That's like insane volumes. Like, oh my God. How's it been? Like, just tell us about the journey. So, it's you've You finished, you started your job, you sold your 75p, eBay, said, no, not doing this. FBA, what is this? Okay, I like FBA, let's do that. How did you get to today? Talk us through that journey.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind, and what I'll say is, at every moment, it was going into the unknown, right? So the first thing is, we're blessed now that we've got great people in our community that we can get advice from. But when I first started, I didn't have a Facebook group. I didn't have any. I didn't know that people would be talking about this on YouTube. I had no idea. So there was literally, I was like, okay, how do I get started with Amazon? And fortunately, I had some close friends that I was doing this with. So that was like my first original sort of mastermind where we would work things out. But this was before the days of analytical tools like a tool where you could just press a button and analyze deals for you. This was back in the day of Camel, and when Keeper was free. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it was, I wanted to start with FBA simply because I knew I was working full time. So if I could source products, if I could get them boxed up, then I could just ship like hundreds, thousands of units to Amazon FBA and they'll take care of everything else. So my one of the greatest gifts that I've had is my partner Kylie. She was actually on a maternity leave at the time because she was only 6 months at the time. So she was at home every day, which was perfect because then she became our living room manager. She's our warehouse manager now, but she was our living room and dining room and kitchen and hallway manager. So I knew if I could just order products, she could get involved in the prep, the bubble wrapping, the bagging, the bundling. So I was like, fantastic, I can outsource like 50% of the business already. If I be the one in control of doing the manual sourcing, the sourcing of products, then she could do everything else, which was great. It was like a yin yang effect. You know, we worked really well together. And that's when I was like, oh God, manual sourcing, copy, paste. I was doing this every night. I sort of put my whole life on hold. I wasn't going out on the weekend. I'd wake up early before I go to work, go to bed late at night. I'd get home and I'd be like, how's the day been, Kylie? How many products have we got shipped today? On my dinner times during, I used to just sit there with every other steel worker, reading the newspaper, having a cup of tea. But I used to actually go home and pick up the 2 boxes that Kylie would get done in the morning and go drop them off at the UPS drop-off point while eating a sandwich. You know, it was like trying to do everything I can to squeeze as much out of the day as possible. And I realized then I had a bottleneck, and that was ultimately time. You know, I had the bottleneck that as much as I want, some days I'd set myself a challenge, like I'm going to source £200 today. And I'd be sourcing Smiths, Disney, I'd be entertaining, I'd be sourcing everywhere I possibly could. And I'd be some days I'd be like, great, I found like £500 worth of products today. And other days it would be like 10 o'clock at night and I've not found anything. I'm like struggling. And I thought, right, there's got to be another way. And that's when I first hired my first virtual assistant in the August. So I only persevered for like 4 to 6 weeks, and I was like, there's got to be a different way of doing this. I found my first sourcing assistant in the August. It completely blew my mind how virtual assistants actually exist. Like that was unheard of. I was an electrical engineer in a traditional job where everybody you spoke to was like, you walked to their office. You spoke personally. So being able to hire some incredibly gifted people in the Philippines, in India, and around the world, I thought, this is amazing. If I could train a sourcing assistant to source for me, send me a list of products, and then I don't have to spend all night in like sourcing myself. I could just review those products and just purchase the products that I wanted to purchase while then educating and training my sourcing assistant. That completely revolutionized like that August. All of a sudden I was finding more than ever. I was purchasing more than ever. At that point, I'd got to about £15,000 in sales. So I very rapidly got to about £15,000 in sales. And I thought, right, I'm getting another sourcing assistant, because at the time I was only sourcing in toys and games. I was just looking at toys and games, and I thought, well, to scale, like, how do supermarkets do it? They are selling everything. So it's no longer just a case of like what category you're sourcing in. It's more of like what profit can you make in any category. Like, if you can make money on a product, it doesn't matter whether it's a toy, a grocery item, health and beauty item, a home and kitchen item. It doesn't matter. So I was like, right, well, if I can get you sourced an assistant called Leslie, if I can get her onto toys and games, then I can hire another one in health and beauty. And now I'm getting two different types of products, and I'm getting supplied. And I was doing this all the way to the first Q4, which was an amazing experience. I've never experienced Q4 before. It was like outstanding. And to put you into a bit of context of where we got to, we actually just passed £36,000 in the 30-day mark. By the December, we had sold like £110,000 at that point. I had no idea about VAT. I had no idea about accounting. All I knew when it come to accounting was it's the receipts. Do you remember like you think of a tradesman, and I was thinking of electricians coming around to people's homes and writing a receipt, and like when they do their accounting, they've got like a pile of paper everywhere. And I was like, I'm not doing this. So I started to track everything through spreadsheets and Google Sheets and every purchase. So I knew, well, what did I purchase on the 4th of August? And I could go back and I can actually specifically see what I purchased, what I spent, how many units I purchased, what profit that I was looking at that time. And it dawned on me and Kylie then, because we were burning at both ends. The reality is we were burning at both ends. I was working all day. Kylie was looking after, at that time, 11-month Harper. She was not sleeping all that well at night. We were boxing, we were bubble wrapping. Our living room was going completely crazy. And we came to a crossroads where it was like, are we going to quit our jobs now or not? And that's when we had to make one of the most significant milestones that anybody needs to surpass is, do you go all in? And when you go all in, it changes the entire landscape, because now you've now got to pay yourself. You've now got to give up your career. Like, I was going to give up my electrical engineering career. With bearing in mind, I'd only done this business for 6 months. A year before I got my first class degree in electrical engineering, I thought to myself, there's two things I thought, myself and Kylie thought. We was like, how do we want to live our life? Will we have regrets later on in life? So if I was just to pack it in, because we couldn't do anything, we had to make a choice. We either stopped the Amazon or we stopped the electrical engineering career, because there was no other way we can't do both. And we was like, well, if I stop the Amazon business after surpassing 6 figures, after selling more in 1 month than my salary was in an entire year, that's just massive regrets. And I always said, by the time I get to 40, I will do everything I possibly can on all angles, as much as I possibly can, take as much risk as I'm willing to take, because I don't want to have any regrets. And that's it. We quit the job, which wasn't an easy process, telling my mentor, who's been coaching me for the last 6 years, I was going to go get my incorporated engineering with the IET. And I sat down with him and I says, I've got to make this happen. I've got to do this. I don't want to regret it. So I quit the job. In the January, hired my first senior assistant. So it was another virtual assistant. The reason why I called him a senior assistant was like, it was just like a team leader of a virtual assistant. So I made like a sourcing assistant, a team member. I made a senior assistant, like a team leader, who could then review products for me. Because I realized, well, why am I reviewing products if somebody else can just review for me? And then I realized, why am I even purchasing the products? Why can't somebody else purchase the products for me? And very quickly, in the first 6 months of becoming free, I was just working from my living room. I transformed the living room. It was a bizarre experience, having my office in the living room. But we wanted to get out into a warehouse, because we wanted our family life back. This was months and months of like just working from home. We knew we needed an employee, so we got our first employee to come work from home in the April. So this was the April. She used to come to our house, and if me and Kylie wanted a day off, for example, it would be like, I'm sat there in my dressing gown or something, and I'm like, "Hi, Amber," which was bizarre.
Yeah.
So we got out into a warehouse in the June. During this time, I'd hired more sourcing assistants. I'd recruited my senior assistant called Harry. I promoted him to my purchaser. So by the August of the 2016, I was no longer involved in the prep, because that was now Kylie and Amber. They were now taking control of everything. And I'd now outsourced my entire sourcing, reviewing, purchasing, which gave me the first sense of working on the business, not in the business. And when that happened, all of a sudden you see your business very differently. You see how you can optimize. You can see how you can streamline. You can see what works, what doesn't work. This is when I started to study how to systemize businesses, and I started to look at KPIs and how I can put key performance indicators around my business. How do I know if Amber's doing a good job? How do I know if Harry's doing a good job? How do I know if Leslie in Toys and Games is doing a good job? I started to think in this way, and all of a sudden you start to see where you can grow your business. That's pretty much the foundations of what we've done. We've hired more warehouse staff at this point. The warehouse was massive when we first moved in. We thought we were big in our home because our living room was small and our deliveries were coming out the back door. But as soon as we walked into the warehouse, a huge open space, it was like, oh my God, this is real now. This is like another level. And it then opened our minds to what's the potential here? How do we go from shipping like 100, 200, 300 units per day to how can we do 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 units per day? And it just makes you think differently. And that's pretty much sort of tells you everything that the foundations are of the business.
My God, wow. what a journey. Honestly, look, it's been really interesting to listen to. There's a couple of words I've picked up on, which, I think are really relevant to your journey, but also anyone kind of going through the same journey or looking to go through it. You said at the beginning, the unknown. This is about the unknown. Every single day is a new unknown challenge and pushing through that. You mentioned masterminding, and I completely agree with that. Sharing with people, sharing your knowledge, bringing your mind together. It was really interesting listening to you talking about your life was on hold. I quote you on that. You did nothing other than work and source. That was it. And then it was interesting that you identified time was your bottleneck. And time always becomes our problem. And hey, this question, the point you made was about there's got to be another way. And interesting enough, this comes back to the unknown, because every day you're pushing through the unknown, and then sometimes you push in the wrong direction, and then you go, oh, there's got to be another way. Okay, I'll go this way. And
let me just sorry, just to jump in that point, I'll give you a real life scenario of that point, right? So I started hiring sourcing assistants. By this point, I had 4 sourcing assistants. I then went to 6 sourcing assistants. I then went to 8 sourcing assistants. And I started to think, okay, I'm about to hire a 10 another 2. And I thought to myself, there's got to be another way, right? And a part of the mastermind, we said together, there's got to be another way. And we then realized that I had 8 sourcing assistants. My good friend had 6 sourcing assistants. My other good friend had like 9 sourcing assistants or 12 sourcing assistants a couple of years ago now. And we thought to ourselves, there's got to be another way. Why are we all having our own individual operations and own individual teams, own expenses? Why can't we pull them together? And now all of a sudden, why can't we join a resource pool, a sourcing pool, where now what actually happened was, instead of going up to 10 sourcing assistants with all the expense that comes with that, I ended up actually reducing down to 5 in terms of expenses, but getting access to my other 2 friends' 5 sourcing assistants. So that was a quantum leap, because now I reduced costs and doubled the amount of products that I was getting in there at all times. And that's a great example of how to think differently.
Yeah, and hey, I'd agree with that. And it's because you don't know what you don't know. And I know this as well, as the fact that, you know, you're going through the unknown every day. You're going on a linear trajectory. You just think, oh, if I just do more of this, here's what I get. And you're like, that's cool, not a problem, that's fine. But on the flip side is to say, there are different ways. There are different ways to do it. So, you know, that's something, you know, that's a really good example of that happening. You got a moment whereby you outsourced everything. You outsource, you know, this is going to be a common question. Maybe someone's quit their job. Maybe they've now got their team growing. They've got VAs, but they're still involved in their business. They're still maybe purchasing. That's quite a common one. But you took yourself, you know, you took the leap from getting out of your job. And then you took the next leap, which is, I'm now out of my business. I'm working on it. And we always talk about that, So the question I want to ask you, Kev, is what does that look like? You know, how much, you know, can I ask, like, maybe how much money you invested or what revenue you were doing at that point? You know, at what point in your business did you say, I'm now ready to come out? What does that look like?
It's a fantastic question, because if you think of how to scale a business, ultimately, it comes down to how much work you can do every day, right? That you're only one person, and there's only a certain amount of time in the day. So let me give you an example of Jeff Bezos, right? The richest man in the world, Amazon owner. If you think of, he's just one person. Now, I know he's a legend to many people, and he's an incredible story, but he, at some point, ran out of time. So you got to think to yourself, okay, how do you can't get more time. All you can do is you can get more work done in the same time. So basically, if you think of Jeff, he now has 500,000 employees. He has a business that is probably one of the top 3 in terms of automations. You know, he's always thinking, how do we automate this? How do we automate this? How do we outsource this? How do we get leverage? So very quickly, the philosophy of where do I see myself in the business? What can I only do? You know, in terms of sourcing, like, if somebody else can source, somebody else can purchase, what position do I have to be in the business? And then it comes down to, like you say, the profitability, the capital. Can you actually afford it? And I just, like everybody else, was going through that time where, am I right? Am I good to hire a virtual assistant? Am I starting to look at my finances and looking at, okay, what profitability do I need to have to invest in a virtual assistant, to hire a virtual assistant? And I realized that hiring a virtual assistant, you can get one for the price of a cup of coffee for an hour's work, right? You can get a very talented person that can work for $3 an hour, $4 an hour, $5 an hour. And I realized very quickly that 1 hour that I'm now saving, that work's still getting done. But now I'm not going to go sit on a beach. I'm not going to get a ticket to go hang out with you and let's check out Vietnam. I'm going to continue working, which means now I'm getting 2 hours worth of work for the price of one. Yes, it's cost me $5 for that hour, but if you think of what you're doing at that point, is you're able to, somebody else can review for you, somebody else can purchase for you, which gives you the opportunity to actually work on your business. So what I would always recommend to anybody is always trial it. Like, everybody has £5-10, like everybody has. You know, just hire somebody to do a one-off task. Go on to somewhere like Upwork. Before you hire them, you can do a trial task. You can get someone to do a trial task. Just pick anything in your business. Anything from your Amazon Seller Central management, your customer messages, your customer feedback, repricer. If you think of anything that you're currently doing, checking your emails, your Google Sheet management, think of anything. Just pick one task and go, do you know what? Can we do a trial task? I'm going to pay you $5 and you manage this for me. And all of a sudden, like, you start to think, I'm never going to do this again. I'm now going to have this as like a principle that I work towards. And I'm now going to go, can I outsource? Can I get leverage? Can I get somebody else to do this? So, and it all depends. And we have to remember, it's what your goal, like, what is your goal? For me, it was, I didn't want to go from a job to a job. I didn't want to go from an electrical engineering career to an Amazon business career. I wanted to go from a job to owning a business, an asset for me, an asset that I could systemize, I can automate, I can get it profitable, that can generate cash flow, which then I can then invest in other streams of income, other assets, other things that I can do. And the only way you can get ahead is really by focusing in on those growth tasks, those tasks that you have to do that pushes your business forward. This is not checking your emails and, at first, sourcing products is a growth task. Of course it is, but that's going to plateau. And at some point, you've got to let somebody else source for you.
Interesting. And the question I always come back to people is about, do you need to do this, or can someone else do it? And it's like, unless you need to do it, you should be trying to get rid of it, or trying to get someone else to do it. And it's like, where do you add value? And it's really interesting what you're talking about there, about saying, I agree with you. I see it with people when they get their first VA. That first VA, like beforehand, they're like, "Oh, I'm not sure," and then they get the first VA, and they're like, "Oh my god! Like my world has changed. Stuff happens when I sleep. Like what the hell?" And this is cool. Like really, really cool. And it's that is the difference. And I agree with you. The difference between self-employed and a business. Things happen when you don't do them. It's like, wow, that's game changing. So hey, fantastic, like really, really interesting.
Yeah, and you just mentioned a really good point there about what value do you bring. And what we're doing right now, we couldn't have this great discussion, I hope it's a great discussion. We couldn't outsource this to our virtual assistant. Yeah. I mean, we couldn't do that, right? It needs to be us, because we are the ones that are in control of our businesses and our experiences, right? So it all depends on you personally, where you want to position yourself in the business. And this is where I always come back to, do you see yourself as the manager of the business? Do you see yourself as the technician in the business, the operator in the business, or do you see yourself as like the visionary of the business? Because we all start with everything. When you just start in a business, you're like, okay, I want to build a business because I can do this. And, I've got to manage the day-to-day. And, I've still got a source. So everybody starts doing everything. But as time goes on and as you start to get resources back to you in terms of time and money, you can then start to go, well, where do I see myself? Because fortunately for me, Kylie is an outstanding, exceptional manager. She's an operator. She's a technician. She loves it in the warehouse. She's a great manager. She does everything in there. I'm more of the visionary. I'm more of the where are we heading? What are we doing? Where are we pushing towards? And then about 16 months ago, I then hired my electrical engineer that I used to work with. And he's now become, and he's got fantastic experience. He's working with multi-million pounds contracts. He's currently looking at is a senior engineer. He has like 100 engineers underneath him. He's dealing with a lot of money and he manages at scale. And I thought, who's the best person to come into the business to help me and ultimately achieve our goals as the manager? Hence why I hired my COO.
Fantastic. My God. Oh, no. It sounds like, don't get me wrong, most people who we're going to interview in, or talk about in the Amazon game, they started out, they're probably doing 6 figures, maybe 7 figures. You're doing 7 already. We've seen that by the newspaper. And now you're talking about, I'm hiring a COO. You're like, this is big. This is really big. So I think that leads quite nicely on to the next question. What's the future for your Amazon business? Where are you going? What do you see with your Amazon business?
That's such a fun. I love your questions. Love it. It's great. So when anybody gets started on Amazon, you got to think about, to me, and this is why I'm painting the picture to where it's all heading. To me, it's like, right, we're selling physical products, right? We're selling physical products, and we just happen to have a once in a lifetime opportunity. We're in a most amazing generation that has something like Amazon FBA. that has millions and millions of people already got the traffic there. So what we're doing is we're just supplying a product, there's traffic. The problem with Amazon is when you are just getting started and you've got a job to fall back on, I call it like phase one, you've always got a backup, right? So you can use Amazon, you can leverage Amazon, you can really scale your business, put yourself in a position where you'll be able to quit your job. If you quit your job, you then turn into a phase two. Phase two is now when if you're solely reliant on Amazon, that could come down to significant issues that you may experience. I'll give you a great example. I was celebrating with the mastermind one Friday evening. I think it was the 9th of September, 2017. And at the time we went out for a brilliant meal. We were celebrating, look, this is great. We're going to go into a Q4 again. Let's make it happen, guys, to us. And we were doing, at the time, we were doing anywhere between £3,000 and £4,000 in sales per day. I've got the warehouse, I've got the staff, I've got responsibility. We were like, great, cheers to us. And I happened to go to the toilet and I got a buzz and I was like, oh, what's going on? And it just so happened to be like about 11:45 midnight, right? So I had a few wines, loving life, and I got a buzz in my phone, the Seller Central app saying, your account has been suspended. And I was straight away, it was like, oh, what a damper.
Your night ruined,
absolutely.
Yeah,
what an awful night it's turned out to be. So we were out of town, we had a nice meal, having a good time. And at the time, I didn't know what we got suspended for. Straight away, it was like, oh God. And immediately it goes through your mind of, I've got the warehouse, I've got employees, people have quit their jobs to work for us. Like, we've quit our jobs to work for us. What are we going to do? So phase two, right, and I ended up getting my account back within 36 hours, but it gave me a really, really good lesson. It gave me a really valuable lesson. I ended up getting suspended by the most ridiculous reason ever. You wouldn't even be able to guess it if I asked you, right? I got suspended for an ingredient called cerulic acid in a conditioner.
What? How did that happen? What was all that about?
We got this particular item had this cerulic acid ingredient, which was it wasn't allowed. It was restricted on Amazon, so they suspended me, and it completely blew my mind on how fragile the right word? How fragile Amazon can be in times. And when you're in phase two, when things have become serious, you've got employees, you've got warehouses, I've got rent to pay, I've got a house to look after, I've got family. You've got to go into phase two where you think to yourself, right, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? And you've got to start thinking of redundancies. You've got to start, and I never thought of that until that moment. And that's when I started to think, right, okay, I've got to start having redundancies in place. I've got to start thinking about what's the long term on Amazon. Amazon is there for us to leverage, but we want to build, if you could build your own store that you're getting your own traffic to and you're getting your own sales for, then that will allow you to leverage Amazon. Don't ever stop Amazon and leverage them, but you want to have the end goal in mind. You want to use them. So if Amazon ever stopped and you was doing $1 million a year and all of a sudden it completely just obliterates your entire business because you can't get your account back, you may already have other accounts up and running. So I've got multiple sellers accounts. That's something to discuss, I'm sure. So we've got multiple sellers accounts to give us some diversification. We've now got we've worked into different models. So we started off in online arbitrage. We started going to trade shows, wholesalers. We've got loads of great contacts now. That started working with different brands, working towards exclusive brand deals. That's one of the things that I really want to do. Start working towards like exclusive brand deals, which is it's like private label, but it's not your brand, but you've got the exclusive rights to sell that brand. And then private label. So you've got it all the way over there. I knew if my brand, if it has its own physical products, I now can actually sell it private label, I can actually try to get it into physical stores as well. So one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm getting this into physical stores, going into any shop that I can find and go, would you like to sell this item? Would you like to sell this? Just so that long term, you can still always leverage the likes of Amazon, eBay, Facebook. I mean, Facebook's just come out with this Facebook Shops, right? Always leverage all that. But if you can build different traffic to sell your physical goods, then that has to be the long term, and that's certainly where we're heading.
I wouldn't call myself so much as like an influencer, but we have influence because we have Facebook groups, we have a YouTube channel, this thing. But it's to say that people might look at us and to say, oh my God, Amazon's, this amazing thing, you should do it. And the one thing that I'm always just saying, be careful of is like, you have one customer, which is Amazon. And at the end of the day, they can say, stop, which happened to you back in September 2017, the 9th, if I'm right.
I remember that day very well.
Hey, and don't get me wrong, I've seen those emails. Like I've not so much. I've had an email where it's coming going, you need to take action or your account will be suspended. And I know it just stops. Your world stops and you start thinking about everything. And it's a really scary time. And I agree with you. You started off talking about we are in this amazing time. We are in a time right now that people can make money off YouTube, people can make money off Instagram, Facebook. There has never been a time as good as it is right now. Gary Vee talks about it. I'm reading his book. There is so much opportunity, and there's so much opportunity with Amazon right now. It really is. But you've just got to be careful of the fact that it is one platform and you're working by their rules, and they can say no. And you talked about multiple accounts, you talk about moving into private label, and hey, smart decisions, moving your brand, moving your product off Amazon, selling it elsewhere. It's not to say that Amazon's no good. No, not at all. It's massive traffic, but it's about being smart with your investment. You wouldn't put all your money into one penny stock. Yeah.
You have to, and again, it all goes with what's the end goal? The end goal, if you want to live life of freedom, in Vietnam, traveling around, going to, Asia, going to America. If you want to live that life of freedom, you've got to see the business models as stepping stones, in my opinion. You've got to see it as online arbitrage is fantastic. I absolutely love it. I really do. It will always be real close to me because it allowed me to do everything that I've got. But online arbitrage has limitations in terms of getting stock, in terms of other people can sell it alongside you. There's lots of limitations to it. So you've got to start thinking, the more serious you become, you've got to start thinking, do I start working with wholesalers? Do I start looking at multiple sellers' accounts? Do I start going, okay, I can start working with this brand and maybe I can build a relationship with this brand. And now I can maybe get business with that brand selling their goods. And do I start looking at private label and start using this cash flow that you're generating, this revenue that you're generating, and just sort of moving it? You just redistributing it to wherever it ultimately makes sense for you. And it all depends on where you're at right now.
Yeah, I agree. And hey, I agree with you as well. I love arbitrage because it's so easily accessible and it's tangible.
Yeah.
Obviously not buy my water for $1 and sell it online for $2. It's you can just see it. It makes sense, and the barrier to entry is so low. But that obviously is a limitation behind it, that once you start growing too big for it, you want to start diversifying different things. So I think that leads us really nicely on. You've talked about your Amazon journey, but hey, Kev, I know about you. I followed you for a long time. Obviously, you do so much more than just selling on Amazon. What else? Tell us a little bit about what else you're doing, kind of things. If anyone doesn't know you, what else does Kev Blackburn do?
Yeah, so it comes back to when 2017 happened, and I started to go, okay, how else can I diversify? What do I need to do? During that point, I was creating my own YouTube channel at the time. I was documenting my journey. In 2016, I first started, and I was creating different videos, sharing tours around the warehouse and things. And it's amazing because I didn't know that people like me. I didn't know that there were other people sellers and able to get started in their businesses. And it's amazing what happened when you start to meet people. They start to say, "Oh God, you got into a warehouse. how did you do this? And you start working with people, you start to learn their stories, what's working for them, what's not working for them. So initially I started to do like free calls. I'd just give me a call if you want, because I'm just interested in people. I'm interested about why they're motivated and what they need to do. And I'm really, really passionate about systemizing businesses. There's nothing more, there's nothing more exciting. Maybe it's the engineer in me. Other people will be like, is he really talking about engineering here? But I love systemizing businesses. There's nothing more that gives me more passion than seeing somebody going from chaos to organization and being able to scale. And so this happened very early on when I was just working with people, and then people say, "Oh, Kev, could you start coaching me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. Let's start coaching, no problem." And then I couldn't accept any more free calls anymore because like my time, I'm like trying to work on my business, trying to help people. And then I was like, well, I could just create a video program that people can go into. So then I started to do that and just started to look at the assets that I've got. So then I was like, what else can I use the warehouse for? So I was like, well, why can't I have a mastermind at the warehouse? So I started going, I didn't know that anybody would turn up, to be honest. I was just hoping if one person would turn up, I'd give them as much tea and biscuits as possible, right? So I was like, let's have a mastermind. If you want to come, free of charge, spend the day. And the first mastermind that I had was with 10 people, which was amazing. Absolutely loved it. And then I started having more masterminds. Last November, we had just over 60 people in our warehouse, which was amazing. And I've just been able to utilize assets that I already have. So when we was in a warehouse, I got approached by a seller that was like, well, I can't prep. I'm not prepping. It's not for me. I don't want a warehouse. Can you just do it? And I was like, well, I already have Amber here. No problem. I didn't know that prep services existed. No idea. Like, I just assumed that everybody would have to go into a warehouse. But then it made sense. I was like, okay, just send your products, we'll prep and we'll ship. So over the last few years, I've had the pleasure of working with amazing people. I've got a great mastermind. Got some fantastic people that I've coached, worked with. I've had some amazing experiences with people. Our prep operations has completely gone crazy. It's amazing on what we've been able to do there. We're in multiple locations. Our big ambition, because I'm thinking our X factor, myself and Steve, because we're engineers, is always been, all we talk about is systems all the time. We just talk about how can we streamline, how can we make this more efficient? And then we thought, well, how can we actually help other people streamline their warehouses? And then we thought, well, why can't we create like a franchise of prep services? And then all of a sudden, we've now got 3 locations, and the big end goal with that is to go global with that, have franchise warehouses around the world, people that are in need, using our systems and our philosophy on getting your shipments in and out. So that's a big goal of mine, as well as continuing to help people. I love experiences. I want to one day have like 1,000 people at an event one day. I've got a great, I've been able to work with more closely with some people that I call my success partners, and some of them are going to become coaches of mine as well, which is fantastic. So it's really, really exciting times right now.
My God. And hey, obviously I've been watching what you've been doing, and really interesting. You talk about the warehouse. Obviously I've seen the franchise, but then, I saw most recently during COVID, you had the big UPS lorry turn up. You're like, wow, this stuff's getting real. Like, oh my God. But then obviously now I think you've just got yourself, a 10,000 square foot warehouse. Is that right?
Yeah, so we right now, we're in the same situation as we were in May of 2016. We're bursting out the seams, but now it's not our living room. It just so happens to be our 2,000 square foot warehouse. And it comes with lots of limitations. Like when space becomes a bottleneck, we've got time, we've got money, we've got space, we've got products. These are all like core bottlenecks. When space becomes a bottleneck, it has a massive impact on efficiency. You've got pallets, you've got boxes, you've got everything everywhere. And So we're going into the next phase of our journey where we're looking at what's the next size of our warehouse. We don't want it to be too big. We're not going to go from a 2,000 square foot warehouse to 100,000 square foot. I mean, that'd be ridiculous. It's a process, right? So we're thinking we've got to make it big enough so that in 2 years' time we're still growing into it, but you don't want to go too big. So it's a bit of a fine line. So we're just about to be moving into a 10,000 square foot warehouse. We are 99.998% there. I'm just waiting on confirmations on internet connectivity. Obviously, we work on internet, right? And the current internet connectivity there is like 2 meg, and that's the maximum it can get there. But every problem has a solution. So I'm working with different companies, getting different people out to look at it, because we need fast internet, right? We need a 50, 100 meg at least. So once I get the all clear on there, we will get the keys, we will move, we will have a fantastic, exciting going into the unknown of what that will be. But this is it. I mean, give it everything you've got. If you don't, just make sure that you can live with yourself later on. And it all depends on what ambition you ultimately have. I have the ambition of building and I go back to Jim Rohn. Do you know Jim Rohn?
No, I don't. Go on.
Jim Rohn was my first mentor, and if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, please do check him out. Sadly, he passed away. He was the original mentor of Tony Robbins.
Oh wow!
Right. So Jim Rohn is before I knew of Tony Robbins and I knew of these sort of gurus out there, I started listening to this guy called Jim Rohn, and it was like he was talking to me. And that's what's really good about people that are really influential. They're like, oh my God, like this makes sense. And what he said was, you want to build a financial wall around your family. So it doesn't matter what happens. It does not matter what happens. It doesn't matter if the Amazon account gets suspended. It doesn't matter if one of my employees decides to quit and leave. It doesn't matter if my car breaks down. It does not matter. You want to build a financial wall around your family that you'll always take care of your family, give them the best experiences that you can possibly give them. Hence why I've had the pleasure of taking my kids to Disneyland, twice. We've had amazing experiences. I never left the UK on a holiday until I was like 19 years old.
Wow. All
I saw is a steelwork town. The grey, the dirt, the smells. So all of a sudden going on an aeroplane, all of a sudden like seeing like an amazing beach or seeing a Disneyland in real life. I mean, I'm just amazed by it. It gives me so much motivation and energy to see everything everywhere. And that's the goal.
Come join me in Vietnam. I'll give you a guided tour of like Southeast Asia. It's beautiful.
Oh, I'd love it. You've just been, haven't you? You just travelled everywhere, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been out here 3 years. So, but hey, this is the thing, isn't it? It's about, we talked about this before we recorded. What is your why? And you're talking about your family, building that wall, and I really agree with you. And I'm like, hey, I've got this remote business. I can do this now before I have a family. Let's just do it. I completely agree.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
So I'm really aware that we've been talking for a very long time. And Kev, what can I just say? It's been a real pleasure, like genuinely a real pleasure. What I want to just do is wrap it up. Now, look, you're a man of a lot of experience. You've obviously experienced a lot in your 5 years of selling on Amazon. Obviously you're now going into a lot of other different businesses. We talk about diversification, fantastic. And I think today some really, really good content, not so much content, but really good information to share with people who are going through this journey and kind of thinking about, okay, once I get into Amazon, then what? You're really talking about that, and I think that's great. So thank you. But I think my question to you, and just kind of wrap up, is let's put it this way. Let's do 2 bits. No, actually, let's do 2 bits. If you're starting on Amazon, what 3 bits of advice would you offer to people who are starting out today on Amazon?
Great advice. So the first and foremost is if you're just getting started on Amazon, understand that the Amazon platform is evolving and changing all the time. So as you just get beginning and just starting, it's very different today than it was 5 years ago or 1 year ago, or even 6 months ago, right? So you're going to experience some restrictions, especially if you've got a brand new account. There's going to be processes of ungating, getting you the ability to sell something in the first place. So the first advice is persevere. Persistence, and keep taking action to resolve, find the solutions. That's a key to anybody being successful. The second advice I would say is the one thing that's brilliant about Amazon, especially business models like RA, OA, wholesale, etc., is it's all data driven, which means that you don't have to guess, right? It's not a guessing it, it's not risk. There is an element of risk, of course, but Amazon give you all the data that you need that you can then make an educated assessment on what if you're going to invest in that product. So that's one of the things that attracted me in the first place. I knew this isn't just gambling. Remember, I was selling those birds. That was just gambling. That was like just completely like, will these sell? Amazon now give you the sales rank. They give you the price history. They give you the number of sellers. They give you everything. They give you everything that you need to know, and therefore you can make educated. When you invest in your money, the last thing I want for anybody, if they're starting with a low budget, just like I did, £100 of your spare money, £200 of your spare money, it's all about trying to return that money, limit the potential of getting bad products. So always make sure you know what a winning product is. Make sure you know where the fundamentals of a losing product is. Okay, lots of great information out on YouTube, etc. for that. And then the third thing I would say is, I guess when it ultimately comes down to how quickly you want to scale. Don't be stuck in one place for too long, because it might just run away with you, right? So what I mean is, if I just stuck with sourcing, I would not be where I am today. So it's going back to that question, is there another way, right? And it's a case of understanding when that point in time is for you, right? So it's about having that self-awareness, which Gary Vee talks about a lot, knowing that, this is, you end up becoming the bottleneck for your own business. I can only relate to my own personal experience. When I was selling and purchasing myself, it started really exciting. Oh my God, I'm purchasing today. Oh my God, I'm purchasing today. Oh my God, I'm purchasing today. I love it. I love it. Oh my God, I'm purchasing today. After 6 months, you should have heard me then. Oh my God, I'm purchasing today. Right? So it's about having that self-awareness. At what point do you make the investments to go to that next level? That's probably and it will take care of itself then.
Oh my God. So some really, really top tips there. And I think anyone who's thinking about Amazon, I really understand what you're saying. I really do. And some of this, people are a bit like, oh, I'm not too sure I like purchasing. And you're like, no, come on, think about it. Where do you want to be? When do you need to get out of that position? And I agree with you. And I talk to people all day about that. And hey, look, I wouldn't normally ask this. So, normally I just do, let's wrap up with 3. But rarely do I meet someone who has been selling on Amazon so long, but also as well is now talking about, private label, diversification, going into different shops, doing other things. So if anyone is sitting here today, they are already been selling on Amazon a couple of years, and they are maybe where you were, thinking about what's the end game, what's the next steps, where does that go? Obviously you're testament to that. What 3 top tips can you give them advice for?
Great question. So if somebody is a bit more advanced, they've now been doing this a couple of years, they've now had some success, they've maybe even been able to quit their job. To me, it comes down to, number 1 is the business foundations that you've actually got, right? So the best way to sort of say this is, you think of the tallest buildings in the world, the higher you go, the more solid foundations that you need to have. And what I mean by solid foundations, I believe that any business, when you study the most successful businesses in the world, the Apples, the Amazons, the most successful franchises in the world, the McDonald's of the world, the Starbucks in the world, what do they all fundamentally have there as their base? It's systems. It's having the systems philosophy that everything we do is based around systems. What do we do, and how can we control that process to be the same every time? So that when you go to a drive-through McDonald's and for whatever reason there's one member of staff has now, oh, I can't come to work because I'm poorly, it doesn't break the whole building, right? If Amazon had a member of staff that didn't go to work, it would make no sense if it then broke all our businesses, right? So you've got to think about systemizing your business. And the way I see that is you've got two parts to this. You've got business management and you've got operations management, and they're different, right? The business management is your foundations. This is like, what's the objective of your business? What are your core values of your business? What are your principles in your business? What is the structure of your business, the staff in your business? What are their roles and responsibilities? What are they actually supposed to be doing, right? This is the reason why the take massive action, the massive action is the core value of my business. It's systems and massive action, right? So having a mission, having values in your business, what you're doing is you're making it more solid of a foundation. That's the business management. Then when it comes to the operations management, how to control systems and make sure you're getting the same result every time. So I've got the pleasure of just been hanging out with you. I've now got a warehouse operating. I've got virtual assistants operating. How can I control the quality of everything? I'm not going, after we finish the call, I'm not going to get in my car, go speak to every member of my staff in the warehouse and go, are you doing this right? 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 Now, it's impossible, right? So what you've got to do is you've got to have an operations management. And what I mean by that is work with working procedures, standing operating procedures, so you know that they should be managing your emails in this way. You can do that through doing video calls like this, where you're educating somebody and then you record it so they've got it to reflect back on. You can create Word documents with screenshots and arrows. You can create videos. You can do whatever you ultimately want, right? It's working procedures. Then you've got to think about the task management. So I use a tool called Asana for that, where I can sort of delegate different tasks. So you've got to be good at delegating tasks and not just tell them what tasks they need to do, but at what time and what frequency they need to do it. So there's no point in me going, right, it's the 21st. All right, the 21st, I know that my virtual assistant 7 needs to be doing this and my warehouse employee 2 needs to be doing this. Asana takes care of that. And then communication as well, right? Communication, KPIs, what is the status of every part of your business? So that's number one. That's my big tip. Obviously, that leads to a big business, right? Number 2 is definitely look to hire. I think that everybody, it doesn't matter whether you're just getting started or you're experienced. I can hire somebody, like there's me and you right now. There's probably something that we're doing that we could hire for, right? Absolutely. So hire. Then the third thing I would probably say is just have an eye on the long term in terms of diversification. If you're solely on Amazon, fantastic. It's amazing what you've done and you've built a great business, but always have just have a part of your day when you're working on something else, just to protect yourself long term, and that's the best thing I could say.
Fantastic. Well, a wealth of information there. And hey, you know what? From me and everyone else watching, thank you so much. Like, I have to go away and really digest all that. There's so much I've just kind of absorbed. It's like, so question for you, Kev, is obviously, you're a man who knows a lot of things and obviously a wealth of experience and knowledge. So if anyone is obviously interested in getting in contact, maybe understanding a bit more about you, obviously even like the prep services, obviously you offer a lot of services. How can they do that? What's the best way?
Well, the best way to find me is just check out Life Success Engineer. If you just go on to YouTube and search for that, we've got so many pieces of content on there. I've actually created over 1,200 videos at this point. So there's a lot of videos there for you to explore. It's going to give you a great foundation of what you really need to do. And yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. You find me, and if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything. I don't try to hold anything back at all. Hence why I do apologize. I've just thrown a whole hose all the way to Vietnam to you.
No, honestly, really, really good. And what I'll say is, if anyone's watching this, I'll drop a couple of links down below, so you can see Kev's Facebook group, YouTube channel, Instagram. We'll put them all down there, so you can just jump through and see them. And I'm part of Kev's Facebook group, and I watch his YouTube videos. Really top tips, great insights, and my God, 1,000 videos on YouTube. That's some serious content creation. Honestly, I take my hat off to you for that. Well done. Honestly, that is dedication. So what I will just say, Kev, is for me and everyone watching this, it's been a real pleasure sitting here listening to you and understanding about your journey. But not only that, the insights, the problems that you faced, and also how you've overcome them. You shared so much today. You shared so much about your journey, but also where you're going. And I think there's a lot we can all take away from that. And it's been really, really insightful and really eye-opening. So, for me and everyone else, can I just say a really big thank you? It's been a real pleasure having you on my YouTube channel, and anyone else watching this, thank you so much as well. It's been really nice to hear it all, and it's been really wonderful that you've been able to share that. And thank you for letting me ask these questions.
You're very welcome. It's an absolute, honestly, it's my pleasure's all mine. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you for the last hour or so, and if you're watching this still at this point, I really appreciate your time too.
Fantastic. Well, look, Kev, I will just say thank you very much. And obviously, anyone else watching this, thank you so much as well. But obviously, have a great day. And obviously, I hope to hear so much more about what is going on, especially private label. I'll be getting a restock soon in the coming months and years. Thank you very much, Kev.
See you later.
Bye-bye.